Assalamu'alaikum. Kaifa Alhamdulillah. We're all well. Throughout history, there have always been servants of Allah who shine with beauty. Even though not a single soul on earth knows who they are, however, they are well known by the inhabitants of the heavens. Such is the story we will share today. How does it go? Let's listen together. Bismillah. That night, the darkness was growing deeper and quieter. Despite the night, the air felt hotter than usual. For a year now, the city of Madinah had been struck by a prolonged drought, with no rain having fallen for a long time. The people of Madinah had gathered several times to perform Sholat al-Istisqa, but up until that night, not a single drop had fallen to wet the land of Madinah. That night, as usual, Muhammad ibn al-Munkadir, a tabi'in, left his house and hurried to the Prophet's mosque. After performing the night prayer, Ibn al-Munkadir leaned against one of the mosque's pillars. Suddenly, he noticed a figure moving not far from where he was leaning. He tried to recognize who the figure was, but had difficulty because of the darkness and the absence of light. He did not recognize him at all, only seeing a dark-skinned man. The man spread a cloth on the floor of the mosque, seemingly unaware that anyone else was present. He did not notice the presence of Ibn al-Munkadir nearby. The man stood and prayed to rak'ahs. After the prayer, the man sat down and humbly prayed. In his supplication he said, "O my Lord, the people of your sacred land have supplicated and asked you for rain, but you have not granted it to them. O my Lord, I humbly ask you, please shower rain upon them." Ibn al-Munkadir, hearing this supplication, scoffed slightly. Who does he think he is, saying such things? He muttered to himself. Righteous people all over Madinah have gone out to ask for rain, yet it hasn't been granted. And now, suddenly, this man prays too, he thought. But astonishingly, before the man could even lower his hands, the sound of thunder rumbled in the sky. Drops of rain began to fall on the earth. The drops became more frequent, and soon the land of Madinah was drenched that night. The man could not contain his joy. He uttered praises and glorifications to Allah. Yet soon after, with great humility, he said, "O my Lord, who am I? Who am I that you would answer my prayer?" Not long after, the man stood up again and continued his prayer. As the time for Fajr approached, he finished his witr prayer and prepared to leave. After the Fajr Adhan was called, the Muslims began entering the mosque, and the man joined them as if he had just arrived. Ibn al-Munkadir remained where he was, staring at the man in awe. After performing the Fajr prayer, the man quickly left the Prophet's mosque. The streets of Madinah that morning were flooded with water. The man walked briskly, so fast that Ibn al-Munkadir, who intended to follow him, soon lost track of him. He had no idea where the dark-skinned man had gone. The next night, as the darkness deepened, Ibn al-Munkadir returned to the Prophet's mosque. Just like the previous night, he saw the dark-skinned man again. It was exactly the same as before. The man prayed through the night until Fajr approached. When the prayer was called, he joined the rows of worshippers as if he had just arrived at the mosque. After the Imam finished the prayer with the final salam, the man did not linger. Just like the previous night, he quickly left the mosque. Ibn al-Munkadir followed him. He wanted to know who this man really was. The man walked into an alley and entered a house. So this is where he lives, thought Ibn al-Munkadir. I'll visit him later. By the time the sun had risen, Ibn al-Munkadir, after completing his duha prayer, hurried to the man's house. It turned out that the man was a shoemaker. At that moment, he was busy working on a pair of shoes. Upon seeing Ibn al-Munkadir, he immediately recognized him. Marhaban, O Abu Abdullah, how can I help you? Perhaps you'd like to order a pair of shoes. The man warmly greeted him. Weren't you the one who was with me in the mosque last night? Asked Ibn al-Munkadir, unable to contain his curiosity. To his surprise, the man's face immediately changed. He seemed angry. In a raised voice, he said, "What business is it of yours, O Ibn al-Munkadir?" He's clearly very upset. I'd better leave, thought Ibn al-Munkadir. And so he quickly left the shoemaker's house. The following night, as before, Ibn al-Munkadir walked toward the Prophet's mosque. But something was different that night. His heart was filled with the hope of seeing the shoemaker again. After praying as usual, he leaned back, hoping to catch another glimpse of the man. But as the night grew deeper, the man he was waiting for did not appear. Ibn al-Munkadir realized his mistake. Inna lillah, what have I done? He muttered as he realized his error. After the Fajr prayer, he left the mosque and went to the shoemaker's house, only to find the door open and the man gone. The residents of the house said, "O Abu Abdullah, what happened between you and him?" "What happened?" asked Ibn al-Munkadir. "When you left here yesterday, he immediately packed up all his belongings. Leaving nothing behind, he then departed. And we don't know where he has gone," explained the residents. From that day on, Ibn al-Munkadir searched every house he knew in Madinah. But it was all in vain. His search never yielded any results. And now, in the 14th century Hijri, we still do not know who that shoemaker was. His traces have been erased by the winds of history. A message from a Salaf scholar. Turifuna fi olis sama wartukfuna fi alilardi. Strive to be known more by the inhabitants of the heavens, even if no one on earth knows you. They are the servants whose deeds and worship remain pure in their pursuit of paradise, untainted by the distractions of this fleeting world. They are uninterested in fame, distant from the stage of grandeur. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, called them al-Akfiya, the hidden ones. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatly loves these servants. Such is our story for today. May there be many lessons and wisdoms we can benefit from. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow and grant us His pleasure to remain among the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam, until we are together in paradise. Ameen. Wassalamu'alaikum.